On this episode, we're going to be doing calipers on the Transit Connect. So replacement caliper, I'll put a link where I got these from, not over expensive, around £80 for a pair. The reason that we're changing the calipers is that when the handbrake's being engaged, it won't hold. I've wound it back, I've freed it up, and it's just not working. Managed to get it through last MOT. MOT has come around again, and this time we're going whole hog with changing the calipers. So at this point you want to make sure that the handbrake has been released, and then you need a 7mm Allen key and take the caps off the back of the caliper, the existing caliper. Make sure not to lose them. Little plastic caps there. Allen key goes in. We get a ratchet on it. Loosen it off. Make sure that that bolt's completely out. Before we move on to the next step, I'll fire on that, and we'll bend them to the side. Allow me to pull the old caliper out. Now, there's plenty, as you can see, on those brake pads. As I said on the last MOT, I replaced all the brake pads in the hope that it fixed the problem, but the problem was that where the handbrake engages by pulling against this spring, it's not springing back properly, so the handbrake's getting tighter and tighter, higher and higher, and not actually engaging the handbrake. So next thing I'm going to do is hold off this hydraulic or brake pipe to stop the oil coming out, and then I'm going to undo that. I'm also going to release and take out the handbrake cable. So I do have a special tool, which is this thing, for stopping the oil going through the brake pipe. So just clamp that as far down as you can get it and click that over. Now there are these types of tools available, but for the standard home garage, probably a pair of mole grips will do the same job, as long as the jaws don't eat in or damage the rubber piping. So next we'll take off the handbrake cable. Try 14. Yeah, 14's got it. Once it starts to go, you can then unravel using the caliper to twist off. Again, you can get specialist brake spanners to do this. Tighten that. Not forgetting to rotate the caliper. So that you're not twisting the pipe. That's one caliper off, and as you can see, no oil leakage because I've got my pliers on there. So, old caliper, I can now concentrate on getting this out of here. You can see a bit of oxidisation there on the aluminium, as it is aluminium. And then we can put our new one on. But first we need to clean up all the components, so I want to clean up the threads on this and overall clean the calipers so that everything slides smoothly before we put it back together. So we've cleaned the parts up, we're now going to reassemble. So there was a bung in there, I've taken the bung out, taken the slider bolts from the old caliper to put into the new one. We can now put that in, make sure that we don't cross thread it. Wait for the bite and spin it. Just do it finger tight for now. And we'll tighten it up further once we get it on. We then need to put the cable in through. There we go. That's it. So now we can, no, we're not going to release that yet, we're going to tighten this up. Take the cable out again, give it one more twist to make sure nothing's overly twisted. Cable back in. Now we can take off pipe pliers. That'll allow the oil to flow again. We can't bleed the brakes up until we put everything back together. So put them back in. Slide that over. Once it's in position, so I'd put a little bit of grease around the edges to try and hopefully stop it from seizing in like the old one. Put that in position there. That's in, holding it in place. Ready to bleed. Okay, before we start bleeding the brakes up, first thing we need to do is undo the top and the brake reservoir, brake fluid reservoir, and make sure we've got plenty of oil in there, and also have some oil on standby, because as we fill the brake calipers with oil, that level's going to go down. So now we're going to bleed the brakes. So the first thing we do is we take our plastic top off the bleed nipple. Ooh, nipple. And then we get the spanner on there, and then I have this, which is basically a tube going into a bottle. This is pre-filled with brake fluid, and then I've got a rubber end on there, 90 degree, that fits over the bleed nipple. Once that's on there, we can now undo the blade nipple so it's nice and loose. Now as I now pump the brakes, it's obviously a way of doing it on your own. You can do it in a pair where you've got a guy or a lady or someone who doesn't relate to either pumping the brakes, and another person then undoing and redoing the blade nipple. As I said, I don't have that luxury, so I've undone it now. I'm going to push the brake. You may see oil flowing into the tool. Now as that goes in, you can see it fill, and you can see the air bubbles that were in the pipe flowed through the pipe into there. So now that we've got all the air out and filled it with oil, we can tighten that back up and move on to the other side. Needs to be a bit looser actually. And voila, brake should be bled. Don't forget, once you've completed this, we need to top up the brake level, brake fluid level. And put the cap back on. So now that we've got all our components back together, we can now refit the wheels, and then we can adjust the handbrake, which is done from inside the van. So wheels back on. So now we're going to adjust the handbrake. So inside the vehicle you've got a handbrake gaiter, so grab that, pinch it together, it will release the rear clips, push it forward, handbrake gaiter's off. Then you can see there the nut that tightens and loosens the handbrake. Now I pre-loosened that to ensure that my cable was nice and slack, so that I could release the brake cable from the calipers. So, I am reliably informed that we need to press the brake 15 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Firmly pressing that brake. Okay. Now we need to pull the handbrake up to 7 clicks. Okay. And now we can tighten that up. We'll check that it's tight basically. And we'll pump again on the brake to make sure that the brake's depressing properly. Yes, it is. After adjustment, I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. I've got a little bit of thread showing there. Handbrake off. Still quite loose. 5, 6, 7. I think we need to tighten that up a little bit more. Thread length. Release the brake. Feeling much better there. That's it for this episode on Seb's workshop. Hopefully the van will now go for MOT and sail through with a working handbrake. Join me next time. Thanks for watching.